Welcome to another In Wheel Time podcast, a 30-minute mini version of the In Wheel Time car show that airs live every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central. It's the In Wheel Time car talk show. Coming up, we talk to John Vincent from U.S. News and World Report about the UAW strike. Later, look at the automotive news headlines this week. Howdy along with Mike out of this world, Mars. King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff
Go
Seekin.
Astros.
I'm Don Armstrong, and I'm nothing. I don't have any.
You're my hero, Don.
Well, thank you, Conrad.
Mr. Helicopter, Mr. Channel 13 Helicopter.
Of course, you know where.
Hi, this is Don Armstrong giving you the traffic report.
You see where his standards are.
Well, that was Robin Williams.
Yeah, really high.
Yeah.
High being key word.
Yeah, and not the kind that we're talking about a helicopter. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us on this this Saturday morning. This is our live broadcast, and you're going to
tell?
That's the problem with it.
Yeah, and what you'll hear on the podcast, not the broadcast, but the podcast, you're going to hear that it's live. Well, on the podcast, it's not live.
But
It's a
it was when we recorded it.
That's right. We're recording it now.
Yeah.
And Mike's going to give us all English accents.
And so this, and so this program, was it going to air Friday?
this
what we're
this
fixing to
half
do.
hour, yeah.
No,
this last half
what
hour.
we're doing right this instant.
Yes.
Friday.
This will be Friday.
It'll be a Friday thing. So by the time this airs, there will probably be another announcement from Sean Fain from the UAW about some shenanigans that they've come up
How
with.
they're trying to screw the big three, and this big three is trying to screw them, and they're all doing a good job of it.
Well,
Okay. Just look both ways before you get screwed.
that's right. So joining us now is John Vincent. He's with U.S. News and World Report. John, good morning to you, and thanks so much for joining us.
Hello, thank you for having me on.
Are you out on the West Coast?
I am. I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon. Let's see.
Leaves
10,
are changing.
8:32. Look, you got up, you put a shirt on, you brushed your hair. Well, never mind that. But but you did brush your teeth, and everything's looking good out there in the West Coast.
It is. It's a beautiful day out here in Portland.
Have you driven the Columbia River Highway? We did a piece on it. Was one of the most scenic highways in the country.
That is basically my backyard. I spend a lot of time
awesome.
out there.
Oh, how cool is that?
How lucky you are.
And
Jealous.
it was one of the first designated national parks, too. National highways.
That's the highways. Well, John, thanks so much for joining. We're going to talk to you this morning about the UAW strike. And there was news yesterday about they've met some sort of a agreement or understanding with General Motors about this new battery plant that apparently is now, at least from what I read, is supposed to kind of put some sort of a grid work on this new proposal that the UAW has to the big three. Fill us in on all of that.
So the news yesterday is that GM will now allow the union into their new battery factories. Before, GM's stance was that the factories were joint ventures. They weren't really GM, so they didn't have to let the UAW in. They have now changed their stance on that, which is a huge concession by GM and might be, the straw that brings this strike close to an end.
That is if Stellantis and Ford agree in principle to the general overview of what they've agreed to yesterday.
Which they will.
They will? You think they will?
Oh, yeah. They will all go in lockstep.
I got you. Do you think that the big three actually talk to each other?
I don't think they're supposed to, but I think there are signals that go on between the three of them that let each other know what they're doing and what their stance is and how far they're willing to
Yeah,
go.
a lot of note passing back and forth.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So with this in mind, and the fact that, to me, it's very complicated because, as you mentioned, these battery factories, they're so expensive, they're so massive in nature, and there's many, many, many of them, and each manufacturer has partners in these battery factories, It's so complicated. How are they going to do that? Because right now there is no UAW representatives in these battery factories because they really don't even exist yet.
Correct.
Well,
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
it's basically as these factories come up, so will the union locals that supply the labor to them.
So do you think this is a good deal, this all the concessions the manufacturers are making to the union? Is it a good deal for the consumer, or is it going to raise the price of everything?
I really worry about what this means for the future of the big three, because they're building a lot of cost into everything they do. And in the next downturn, the big three will be facing headwinds that aren't faced by every other manufacturer because their fixed costs will be so high.
It'll be the big zero.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers that they're talking about on the battery factories are the UAW workers will make twice as much as non-union battery factory workers. It's going to be tough to be competitive when you're paying twice as much in labor costs.
Yeah.
Or
that cost gets passed on to the consumer regardless.
Or they don't spend as much on their CEOs and they cut back in other areas to be able to afford this. They keep the price of the vehicles close to what they should be.
That is definitely true. I mean, this negotiation was never heading anywhere other than a strike for a lot of reasons. You know, it was the CEO compensation that was very public and seemed outrageous to a lot of people. It was a union that had been going through some corruption issues and is trying to rebuild itself as, you know, the super strong union with a very aggressive, dynamic leader who's out to prove himself. And it was a time when they had somebody in the White House who wasn't going to do anything to even try and stop the strike. So, you know, the conditions were perfect for a strike, and that's what we have.
But John, my experience in the corporate world, which isn't a whole lot, but generally aren't the CEOs that they're talking about, you know, say he gets $20 million. Oh, he made $20 million last year. But that's not all a salary. I mean, he has a contract, but a lot of that's incentives that are built in. You know, the stock does this well, you get this much money. The stock does bad, you don't get this much money. Those kind of things. As far as a salary, generally, they don't make that kind of number. I mean, million, okay, 2 million, something like that. But isn't it true that most of it is some sort of incentive?
Stock options,
yeah. Cash bonuses?
Oh, absolutely. But that doesn't make it to the headlines.
Well, I understand. That's what I think that's part of the problem, because next year, like you say, they hit a downturn. Well, that CEO, all of a sudden now he's only making $5 million a year. But that guy that just got his raise up to $75 an hour, he's still making $75 an hour.
Mm-hmm. He or she, by the way, on the CEOs.
Yes. Okay, my bad. Them.
Politically correct. Well, the other thing that happens is they're asking for this 32-hour work week. Well, my view of that is, okay, so we give them a 32-hour work week, and we did a thing earlier about auto history, and this was the week in auto history where Ford went to a 8-hour, 5-day-a-week work week back in the 30s. And so now they're going to a 32-hour work week with the plan of working the same amount of hours. So now they get an additional 8 hours of overtime at time and a half at their $75 and $50 an hour, time and a half at $75 an hour. So that's really what the unions are how they're trying to
compensate.
Yeah, I don't think
bamboozle.
I don't think that part of the contract is going to happen. That seems like a negotiating point that's, you know, out on the margins that they're going to have to be willing to give on.
So this labor leader is in the news,
Sean Fain,
he negotiated the contract that they currently had, correct?
He was on the team that negotiated the contract.
Well, and now he's trying to be the hero. If he was negotiated all that loss is what they're talking about, now he's going to be the hero and try to get it all back from him. So isn't he sort of kind of on the hot seat too?
He absolutely is, and he's the new leader, and this is his chance to prove himself, and you know he's doing his best to try and make himself
A name.
the person who saves them.
but not held accountable for his failure at the last contract negotiation.
Well, like you said, he was on the team. He's got a vote in that.
Yeah, that union's been a mess, and this is a kind of a way to rally everybody around a common goal.
But don't they understand, both the car makers and the union, that there are car manufacturers that don't employ union employees, and their cost per car to build is a lot less than UAW built cars and trucks? I mean, let's look at all of the manufacturers and even the big three that are now building cars in Mexico where there is no UAW.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think the UAW's thought is that once they, force the Detroit 3 into making all these concessions, they're going to waltz into the plants in the South and say, look at what we did for these guys. Join the union now.
Yeah.
Let's get this.
That's already happening. I've heard that's already happening. We need Hoffa
But it's
back.
much harder to do in the South because of the right to work laws.
Yeah, well, this is a
If
right
I'm
to
a
work
Southern
standard
governor or I'm the president of Mexico, I am salivating right now because I can go to all these new startup companies and car companies that want to build a new factory and say, see what's happening in Michigan? That's not going to happen here.
Yeah.
And they're not, the UAW is not looking at it that my view of the world, their destruction of the big three is to their demise. I mean, ultimately long term, big three giving in endlessly to their demands is going to lead to their destruction. You mentioned that earlier about, when things turn the other direction, the big three won't survive. Well, I don't think they're going to survive anyhow. Some of it because of the negotiation give-ins right now, some of it because some of the leadership of the big three don't deserve to be there, but they're making $29 million a year. My personal opinion.
It is a mess, and it's happening at a time where we have basically the biggest revolution in the car industry since the Model T. So everybody's worried about the future. The union thinks that they know the path that they want to have to guarantee their future. The car companies have a path that they want to follow to guarantee their future. And the two don't really mesh.
Right.
Interesting.
Which long term is going to lead to the demise of one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Or both.
Yeah, the interesting about the battery factories is battery factories don't employ very many people.
No.
They're mostly automated.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's all
the
robotic.
people that they're employing are fixing the machines that actually build the batteries.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I mean, if you stop and think about it, that's kind of the way that the cars are manufactured today.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have thousands and thousands of people on a shift at the Rouge factory. There's a lot of robotics are going on
Right.
there, and
You know-
that's the way that it has been for decades now.
Years ago in the body shop, there was a painter that would spray paint on the
Yep.
car. That's all robotic now as well.
And
So
when I was in the factory, it was three of us that did the same job every shift. 3 on this shift, 3 on that shift. And you
inefficiently, apparently.
obviously. You did your job, and then you count 1, 2, 3. That one's mine. And then you would do that job. You sit down, 1, 2, 3. That one's mine. There's 2 more people that were doing that. Somebody had 2 and somebody had 3.
Hopefully you guys could all count correctly.
Well, that's the problem. And on a Friday and a Monday,
There's an old myth that when it was Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury, that they had 3 different staffs in the plants, and when the Mercury car would roll down the line, the Mercury person would step up and
Yep.
install the part.
exactly.
When the Lincoln car came down, the Lincoln person would step up and install the part. Totally untrue. I mean, they were all built by the same people.
Yeah.
But there was a thought
good story,
that
though.
those Lincoln workers were slightly better than the other workers.
Oh, yeah. And they throw a
It's an
Cadillac
upscale
in there.
car.
But they were all paid the same because it was a UAW contract.
Sure.
So when do you have an idea in your mind, based on your knowledge of the strike and what all's going on, when this is going to end?
I think we're going to have a lot of news this week. I can't say it's going to end this week, but I think we're going to have a lot of news this week. And what's pushed the whole thing forward was the UAW has been expanding the strike every Friday.
Right. That they didn't expand it this
They did
Friday.
not yesterday.
Right.
And General Motors knows that the next strike target is the Arlington plant down in your area.
Yep.
And that is where GM prints money.
Oh,
That's
trucks.
where they make SUVs, trucks, very, very high margin Escalades. And GM cannot afford to have that factory go down.
Well, and not only that, but GM has also announced just a couple of months ago that they're going to spend a couple of $1 billion in expanding that plant to make it even bigger.
Yep.
So it's good. That plant in Arlington is going to become huge, and they're going to build lots of vehicles there, and they're going to crank them out as fast as they can, and they have to really settle this quickly.
Well, I always laughed because when I worked for General Motors and I'd go to any of these assembly plants and you would walk or drive in and look at the employee parking lot, half of it wasn't General Motors at a GM assembly plant. Half of it was Asian imports. Mm-hmm. It's kind of self-defeating when you don't even buy the product that you build.
Back in the day, you were encouraged to buy the brand that you were working on.
It's funny, to that end, when I worked for Richardson Chevrolet, they would be ticked if you going out and bought a new car if it wasn't from them and a Chevrolet.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and
look at the plants around Michigan, you'll see the domestic employee parking lots and the foreign automaker parking lots.
Yeah, if it wasn't that
foreign
brand,
automaker parking lots are, out on the back 40, which is a big thing in Michigan in the winter.
Yeah,
you have to park a half mile from the plant.
Well, but it makes sense. You want everybody to have faith in your product. It's an advertisement. Oh, all our people drive the Chevrolet or Buick or whatever it is, and you don't want a Honda sitting back there with a 6-foot spoiler on the back of it and a coffee can exhaust.
Yeah, you do. And tub it out.
Yeah.
So what do you think the short-term future is of this?
I think we're going to have a settlement within the next 2 weeks. A lot of progress this week. And then everybody will forget it happened.
Wow.
Like most UAW strikes, it'll just go back to normal. Everybody will, shake hands and
move on,
go along their merry way.
But how do you think it's going to impact the cost of vehicles?
The cost of vehicles is already sky high.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Fortunately, labor costs are only a fairly minor component of the cost of a vehicle. So you might see some incremental increases, but it's not going to be a massive increase.
So this contract, okay, so say it's settled today, right now. How long is that contract good for? How do they write that in? In the next 2 years, we're going to renegotiate, or the next 5 years. How does that take place?
That's one of the contract terms as to how long it will last. Generally, they've been a couple of years long.
Well, this
there can
one
also
here,
be differences based.
Well, this one here, I think is they keep talking about a 3-year contract.
3-year deal?
Yeah.
3 year. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're all going to get their back pay.
And remember that every plant has a slightly different contract. They have the UAW national contract, but every plant has differences, local differences for that plant.
Specific for that plant. Well, John, it's great to talk to you. We thank you so much for joining us today. And let's chat here after the strike is over, and we'll analyze how things went.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Enjoy the Northwest, my friend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
John Vincent, U.S. News and World Report on the UAW strike.
So good predictions. Good predictions.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting time here. And as he said, the next 2 weeks. But I think, as he mentioned, that I believe that this Friday will be a turning point. Actually, the real turning point happened yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yep.
Because they didn't announce more strikes.
Exactly.
And when they were talking about the strike, about having a strike several months ago, I said it's not necessarily the people that are the UAW workers at the actual assembly plants. It's more along the suppliers. And to that end, about 30% of suppliers have had to lay off some workers because of the UAW strike, but that figure will rise significantly by mid-October, according to a recent survey. Now remember, it takes a while, as we saw during the pandemic, for everything to reach us as consumers. And the microchip thing was massive, and nobody saw that coming. The Auto Trade Association, MEMA, found that nearly 30% of suppliers have had to lay off some direct labor employees, and more than 60% expect to start layoffs by mid-October, according to a news release. I think that they're going to come real close to that if they don't actually go through with that, because remember, there was a supply chain, and they've been eaten into the supply chain from these suppliers.
And those are non-UAW suppliers, most likely.
Correct. They'll go back to work.
Tier 2, Tier 3.
Right. They'll go back to work immediately, but it's going to take time for them to make the product and to get it to the factory. MEMA also urged the White House to take action to ensure commercial vehicle crossings speed up at the U.S.-Mexico border amid added security checks by U.S. and Texas authorities. The checks have slowed the transportation of goods across the border in recent weeks. U.S. auto safety regulators have upgraded and expanded an investigation of catastrophic engine failure in 2021 Ford Bronco SUVs to cover more than 700,000 Ford and Lincoln models.
Cam phasers.
NHTSA in July of last year launched an investigation into more than 25,000 Broncos equipped with a 2.7-liter EcoBoost engine. After receiving 3 petitions requesting a defect investigation and 26 complaints alleging a loss of motive power at highway speeds with no restart. The alleged loss of power was a result of catastrophic engine failures caused by the engine valves failing, the agency said at the time. Ford told the agency that the defective intake valves were manufactured from a specific alloy known as silichrome light, which can become excessively hard and brittle if an over-temperature condition occurs during machining of the component, according to the document. This all from Automotive News. A design modification was made in October of 2021, which changed the intake valve material to an alloy that is less susceptible to overheating.
Xylophone heavy.
Yeah.
Sorry. I got that look from Don, like, shut up.
Shut up. A proposal by Joe Biden's administration to hike fuel economy standards through 2032 would cost General Motors $6.5 billion in fines and Chrysler parent Stellantis $3 billion, according to a letter from an industry group seen by Reuters. The American Automotive Policy Council, representing GM, Stellantis, and Ford, said in a letter to the U.S. Energy Department on Friday that the size of the expected penalties for not meeting proposed corporate average fuel economy or CAFE requirements are alarming. Ford separately faces about $1 billion in penalties. GM and Stellantis declined to comment beyond the letter.
Because all of that will just get passed on to the consumer.
Yep. But remember, I haven't seen the average price of a vehicle here in the past few months, but not that long ago, the average price, all the cars that are sold, $35,000.
That's base entry.
Then it went up to almost $40,000 quickly. And most of the cars that Mars and I get these days are $40,000 or above. Now, granted, they're the top of the line trim levels, but we're not talking about Cadillac SUV, SEV, V-rods and all that stuff. We're talking about everyday cars that regular people drive.
Yep.
It's a lot of money.
Yep.
So you think about that, and let's just take a Suburban. I don't think you can get in a Suburban anymore for under $50,000.
Oh,
No.
So let's just say that the Suburban that you buy, brand new, stripper, $50,000. How much did it actually cost General Motors to make that car? Overall, 20?
No, within the industry, they say GM makes $10,000 to $12,000 per unit on utilities and pickup trucks, net profit $10,000 to $12,000 per after all the expense of building.
What was the sticker price of it? Because I'm saying a $50,000. You're probably talking about a $30,000 or $35,000 SUV. Now we're talking about a $50,000, and I guarantee you that it is at least doubled the amount of that difference between 35 and 50. So double that, $15,000 on top of what you're saying, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, I think that.
But it's their most profitable trucks and utilities are the most profitable vehicles for Ford, GM, and Chrysler.
And then you see the trim level add-ons. Trim level add-ons
Oh, my
don't
God.
cost $7,000 to General Motors.
they don't.
No.
Not
And
at
you
all.
got your tires and wheels. I know that. I was there. They don't pay full retail on that.
We're going to take a
No.
quick break now, and we're going to wrap up today's show right after this. The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants will have you telling your family and friends just what the original recipes mean when it comes to the best fajitas in Southeast Texas. Founder Stan Holt invites you to visit the original Lupi Tortilla near I-10 and Highway 6. Here's the original house that inspired the design of all the rest and the original charm that helped make Lupi Tortilla the go-to destination for Houston Tex-Mex. Speaking of original, nothing can compete with the original lime pepper marinade that everyone will agree makes Lupi Tortilla award-winning beef fajitas the best anywhere. Lupi Tortilla Katy is another location that gives you the same quality and service Houstonians have come to expect at Lupi's. It's located just off I-10 and the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard in Katy. Find yourself in Aggie Land? Head to the Lupi Tortilla in College Station, located just around the corner from Kyle Field. It's a great place to enjoy those famous frozen margaritas before or after the game. Headed east to Louisiana, stop in at the Lupi Tortilla in Beaumont. It too's on I-10. You can't miss it. The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants invites you in for the best Tex-Mex anywhere. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com.
Rogers Dab Chevrolet and GM Performance is proud to be a part of America's largest block party. It's the 27th annual Cruising the Coast, October 1st through the 8th. Great antique, classic, hot rod, and dragsters all along a 30-mile stretch of beach. Bay St. Louis, Biloxi, Gulfport, Ocean Springs, Pascagoula, and more. Rogers Dab Chevrolet and GM Performance will be on site October 5th through the 8th at the Mississippi Gulf Coast Coliseum, manning the Chevrolet trailer displays. Come see us for additional information at cruisingthecoast.com. Biggest race in the country. Also, Rogers Dab Chevrolet GM Performance is proud to be a part of the 10th annual Lone Star 600 at Devil's Bowl Speedway in Mesquite. October 6 and 7, $25,000 to win. Any car can race and is locked into the race. 300 laps, both nights, 7 o'clock start times. Racers from all around the U.S. and beyond. Additional information at LoneStar600.com. Rogers Dab Chevrolet and GM Performance.
Well, I've been making fun of Mars and his Kona review that didn't happen today. And what did I do?
Saving it for later.
Let's see. I played all of the wrong commercials at the wrong time.
Well, most of them.
Most of them. And then, on top of that, I've lost the clothes. So I don't know. Do
Don
I
lost his
Bye-bye.
clothes.
I lost the.
So you're going to be naked?
The naked.
The naked ending.
That's it.
It's got a naked
So I don't know
ending.
what I did with it, but it's not.
Put your clothes on.
Yeah, I don't know what I did with it. It's
You got
in here
time.
somewhere.
You got,
But see,
49
here's the whole
seconds.
show. See it right there?
And nothing but
You
the
got 45 seconds.
How many?
45. Now you got
show.
less
Well, you
than
have
that.
it memorized.
Yeah.
That's
You
it
got
for
Mike,
today's.
Conrad,
memorized.
Jeff, Don,
That's it for today's In Wheel Time Car
David.
Talk Show.
Bye, y'all.
David, Ainsley.
And we will be back with our live edition of the show next Saturday
Right here.
from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central Standard time. Because we got a time change coming up pretty quick. I don't know when it
First
is.
week in November, I believe.
Is that what it is? It's,
Believe so.
it's later and later every year. But at any rate, we thank you for joining us today on behalf of Mike Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Have yourself a great weekend and enjoy the fall weather.
Go Astros.
Yeah, buddy.
That's it for this podcast episode of the In Wheel Time Car Show. I'm Don Armstrong, inviting you to join us for our live show every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and our InWheelTime.com website. Podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart Podcast, Podcast Addict, TuneIn, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Keep listening, and we'll see you soon.